Follow us today to a 2014 American psychological thriller film called Nightcrawler. Before we start, be aware, there are spoilers. Our story opens at night overlooking Los Angeles. Someone is cutting a fence wire when a security guard drives up. We see a man called Louis Bloom talking with the security guard. Then suddenly, he attacks the guard, steals his watch, and drives off. Louis takes the fence wire along with some other metal things to a scrap metal yard to sell them. He tries to get a job at the yard, but the foreman tells him he doesn't hire thieves. As Louis is driving along a freeway, he sees a car that's crashed and two policemen trying to help a woman inside. Just then, a news team van pulls up and two men named Joe and Marcus rush to the scene to film the accident. Louis is watching the proceedings and he asks Joe if he's in need of hiring anyone. Joe tells him no, then calls Marcus to go to another emergency. The next morning, we see Louis in his apartment watching TV and scouring the news channels until he finds the report of last night's car crash where he saw the news team filming. Louis goes to the beach and steals a racing bicycle and takes it to a pawn shop where he exchanges it for a camcorder and a police radio scanner. Now it's nighttime and Louis is parked in his car listening to the police station dispatcher calls. He drives to the scene of one of the calls. When he starts to film the scene, the police tell him to get out of there. He finds the same response from other people when he tries to film each incident. He goes to a scene of a shooting where a news cameraman is already filming. When he gets too close, the police tell him and another cameraman to get back. Louis takes his video footage to a local news station known as KWLA and shows it to the news editor named Nina and her assistant named Frank. Nina then pays him $250 for his footage, the start of things to come. The next morning, he watches the news report which shows his video footage. He looks up the meanings of the police call codes and makes notes to study them. We see Louis sitting in a fast food restaurant. He is soon joined by a young man called Rick. After a short conversation, Louis hires him as an assistant. That night, they head out together with Rick as the navigator, but Louis drives so fast that Rick gets very nervous. They arrive at crime scenes, but always too late. At one shooting crime scene, Louis enters the house from another door and starts taking videos and photos from inside the house. Louis takes his footage to Nina at KWLA, and she is impressed with his work. Louis and Rick continue night after night pursuing police calls and shooting videos at the scenes. Now, we see Louis and Rick getting petrol in Louis's new car. They arrive at a crash scene, and Louis actually moves the body of a victim so he can get a better video shot. As the police and other news film crew arrive, Louis walks away. The next morning, Louis is standing next to Nina in the TV studio as they're about to read the morning news. He asks her if she would like to have dinner with him. At first, she declines, but she's not quite sure. Outside the studio, Joe is waiting for him. He offers Louis a job taking control of his second news film van. Louis tells him he's not interested, despite Joe trying to coerce him. In the end, Joe walks off, really angry. Now, we see Nina and Louis sitting in a Mexican restaurant together, and Louis is complimenting Nina on her good looks. After some heavy conversation, he makes it clear that he wants to be more than friends with her. So, what happened? We don't know. The following night, Louis and Rick are driving to a hit-and-run accident when a report comes on the radio of a small plane crash, so they go to the plane crash. They get there too late, and Joe has already filmed the scene. Louis goes to KWLA to see Nina, but she's really pissed off because he didn't get the plane crash video and he has little else to offer her. In Jake's apartment, the news report with Joe's video is playing on the TV while Jake is in the bathroom, screaming at his reflection, then he hits the cabinet, breaking the mirror. The next morning, we find Louis underneath Joe's news van doing some handiwork. He slides out and quietly walks away. That night, they're on their way to the scene of a one-vehicle accident, which just happens to be Joe's van that has crashed head-on into a power pole. As the ambulance crew is wheeling Joe to the ambulance, Louis is filming the whole scene. We see Joe looking up at Louis with a strange look in his eyes. Now, as they're driving down the road, they get a call on the police scanner of a home invasion, so they speed to it and arrive before the police. Louis jumps out with his camcorder and runs up the driveway. As Louis gets close to the house, he hears gunshots from inside the house. When two men run out of the house, he hides in the bushes and films the two men running out, getting into their car, a black SUV, and driving away. Once they've gone, Louis goes over to the house with the video camera rolling. He films a shotgun outside, then enters the house to find a woman shot dead on the sofa. He quickly makes his way to the staircase, following a trail of blood upstairs. He enters a baby's room, but the cot is empty. As he moves through the upstairs rooms, he finds the body of a woman lying dead on a bed before he runs back downstairs. Moving into the kitchen, he hears a man coughing and finds the man lying face down in a pool of blood. Now, he runs to the front door to find that Rick has come looking for him. Together, they run back down the driveway to their car with the sound of police sirens coming closer. They drive off just as the police car is approaching. Once they are back in town, Louis stops and tells Rick to stay in the car, while he goes to the rear of the car and edits the footage so there's no video of the two men or their SUV. Louis walks very confidently into KWLA and tells Nina about the video he just filmed. Nina and her staff watch the video in shock. Once alone, Nina and Louis negotiate a price for the footage. It gets very serious, and Louis tells Nina that if he doesn't get what he wants, he'll take it to another news station that will pay him more. He wants to meet the staff of the station to tell them that he is the owner and president of his new company, Video Production News. He also tells her that the next time they're alone together in her apartment, he wants her to do the things he asks her to do. Now, we see Nina introducing him to all of the KWLA staff. Shortly after, they are in the production room as the story is about to be aired. The news show starts and shows the graphic images that Louis filmed. The next morning, Louis is watching all of the TV stations reporting the same story from last night when there was a knock at the door. We see a woman named Detective Frontieri and a man called Detective Lieberman at the door. They enter the apartment and question Louis about the triple murder that he filmed the night before. He tells them that he saw the two men driving off in an SUV as he arrived, But he doesn't tell them that he actually got good video of the two men and their SUV. Detective Frontieri thinks Lewis is not telling them everything. Lewis tells her that he entered the house to see if he could help someone. He gives him a copy of the edited video, and they leave. Now, Lewis is doing some police work of his own. He watches the unedited version of the video and gets a better look at the two men. Then he zooms in and gets the license number of the SUV and does an online search to find the address of the SUV owner. Early that evening, Lewis picks up Rick and tells him that he knows the address of the SUV owner. He plans to go to that address so they can follow the SUV to a good area for filming a video. Rick is obviously very nervous and thinks that Lewis should call the police immediately, but Lewis has other ideas. Lewis stops the car and tells Rick he's promoting him to Executive Vice President of Video Production News and giving him a raise. They go to the address and park the car close by to wait and watch. Lewis tells Rick that there's a $50,000 reward. He tells Rick he wants to film the police as they arrive and make the arrest or a possible shootout. Rick says he wants half the reward, but Lewis isn't so keen on that, until Rick tells him that the police would be interested in why Lewis didn't call them earlier. Lewis accepts the deal, 50-50, on what they make tonight. After waiting for some time, one of the men comes out and drives off with Lewis and Rick following behind. The man picks up his friend, then after getting some petrol at a petrol station, they go to a fast food store to eat. Lewis and Rick park across the road, and Lewis calls 911 to report that he thinks he has found the two men who murdered the three people in the house the night before. After the call to the police, Lewis turns on the police scanner to listen to the report of his call. Lewis tells Rick to take his camera and film from further down the street. Rick objects, but when Lewis threatens him, he reluctantly agrees. As they start filming, a police car arrives. The two policemen enter the restaurant and go to order some food. Lewis sees one of the men holding a gun under the table. Just then, another police car arrives, and as the two policemen enter the restaurant, the two men start shooting. One policeman is shot, and the two men are also wounded, but one of them manages to escape in the SUV. One police car chases the SUV, and Lewis follows the police car. They go through a red light, barely missing the other traffic, but at the next intersection with the red light, the police car gets hit. Lewis keeps following the man in his car when another police car enters in front of the SUV. The SUV rams the police car and it tips up and slides on its side. Then the SUV hits a pole and flips onto its side as well. Lewis comes to a screeching halt and jumps out to start filming. Lewis tells Rick to come and film the dead man in the SUV, but as Rick approaches, the man inside is not dead and he shoots Rick 4 times. Rick drops to the ground, fatally wounded. The man kicks out the windscreen and stands looking at Lewis, who is still filming. Then, as he walks away, another police car arrives and they shoot the man dead. More police cars arrive and Lewis walks over to Rick, still filming the video as Rick lies there dying. Rick asks Lewis why he didn't tell Rick when he knew the man was alive. Lewis calmly says that he didn't want to lose a good video. That's ruthless. Lewis takes Rick's video camera and leaves. Now we see Lewis at KWLA showing Nina the video footage of the crime scene, but the video is cut before Rick speaks. As they're about to air the story, Frontieri and Lieberman arrive and ask for the video footage of the crime scene. Nina tells them that it's the property of KWLA, and they're going to put it on the news show. Frank pulls Nina aside and tells her that they got word from someone called Joel, who was told by someone in the police task force that there was over 50 pounds of cocaine found hidden at the murder scene. So, it was actually a drug robbery. She tells them they can report it later, but for now, they're sticking to the original story of a home invasion. Frank can't believe that she is starting to sound a lot like Lewis, cold and unemotional. At the police station, we see Frontieri interviewing Lewis about the facts of his previous police report. He tells her a story about how the two men in the SUV had been following him, and that when he saw them enter the restaurant, he called the police. Frontieri knows he's lying, but she can't prove it. She's disgusted that he actually filmed his partner dying. She walks out of the interview room and leaves him there alone. Lewis calmly walks away from the police station. In the final scene, we see Lewis talking to his 3 new employees as they stand next to his 2 new video production news vans. He gives them a pep talk, then they climb into their vans and drive off into the night. Like and subscribe to watch more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. That really helps my channel. Thanks for watching.